Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I want to answer a question or comment that I just recently received a couple days ago on a video, and it comes from M. If I remember correctly, I actually redacted the name. It says, "Hi Duane, I noticed all your videos are years old. Your videos are so full of hard truths and spoken so well. My pain is overwhelming and I have lost so much due to the relationships. It's hard to get out of bed." I can remember those days. "I lost my kids, my home, friends. It's so lonely and sad. My question is how are you doing now? I am in a really dark place due to how much I loved and gave to this man whom I now know never really loved me in a genuine way. Used me and tried to destroy me. Nobody really understands how much pain I'm in, and they look at me, or at least I feel they do, like I'm pathetic. So I will work and come home and I feel so alone." Okay, so first part of the question is, excuse me, I'm doing pretty good. The first part of this, the 9 years ago when it started, it was the most it was basically like what this person was talking about. Most devastating thing I think I'd have ever experienced in my life. Completely rocked my world and was not a whole hell of a lot of fun. However, once you work through all that, things tend to turn around. Now, a couple of the issues I want to address, well, let me back up. Don't take that everything has changed, that the ex is now a glorious human being, and that the kids are no longer being used as pawns or being weaponized, because that all still is happening. It's one of those things where you constantly have to have your game face on and be anticipating and expecting weird crap to happen so that you don't completely implode on yourself. So full disclosure, kind of disclosure, to be honest, things are pretty tense right now. In my world, with my youngest who's still under family court, so that complicates things. But again, going back to my life is so much better than what it was. Being out from underneath a toxic person who is just hell bent to totally screw with your head is I would take what I'm dealing with now over any day that I was dealing with before. Now, again, excuse me, just to be clear, that was incredibly tough in the beginning part of it, and everything that this person is talking about, I experienced. So let me kind of go back here. So it's in a really dark place because it says I'm in a really dark place due to how much I loved and gave. I can completely relate to that. See, the thing is oftentimes when you're chasing somebody's approval and validation, especially from a toxic person who is using it as a manipulative tool, you get so invested in the relationship that you don't even really see what's happening, and you're constantly trying to chase those breadcrumbs. So whenever this happens and you end up in a discard scenario, it's devastating because you just don't understand it. So unfortunately, that's very normal. I went through that myself. The next part of it, well, second part of the sentence goes, "I gave to this man I know I really never loved me." Remember, a narcissistic person only cares about themselves, and they only do things to achieve their goal. And if that goal is they have to pretend to care about you so that you continue to be their favorite source of supply, that's what's going to happen. The reality is since it's not real, it's an act, they can shut it off in an instant, and it is devastating to the target. Whenever you go one day, you love them and they love you, to the next day you love them and it's like you never existed. It's really hard to wrap your head around that. Let's see. Then the part where used me and tried to destroy me. Now, the other thing that you guys got to remember is when a toxic narcissistic person realizes they have lost you, the second they realize they lost you, that is when a couple things happen. Typically, you experience a discard, and immediately following that is a smear campaign. Now, the reason for that is the only person who knows who's seen their true colors is you. which means if they do not destroy your reputation in their mind, if they do not destroy your credibility, when you go around and you start telling everybody, hey, Billy in this situation is a scumbag, or Susie is, this is what's really going on. If they haven't preemptively tried to destroy your credibility, then someone might go like, oh my God, Duane is saying this, so that must be, maybe that's true. But if they can turn around and say that you're crazy, you're an abuser, you're abusive, and they can frame it that you're the one with the problem, then when you go and you say something, then people have a tendency, or they think that people won't necessarily believe them. Now, the other reality that you have to think about on this is if you're going around telling everyone that your ex is abusive and they're a monster, then technically, it kind of falls in the same category. Now, the other issue with that to remember is if both parties are saying that, then people don't know who to believe. Now, the other thing is so that's one thing, right? Where both people are saying, oh, I've been abused, they're the abusive one, then people are just confused. Another thing that can happen is they can say it in such a way that, oh, that person they're just crazy, they're over dramatic, all they want is chaos in their lives, which, honestly, when I talk about it, isn't that kind of what I keep saying? Anyways, intent really underlines the meaning of what you're trying to say. Maybe I'll get to that in a few minutes. But what I'm trying to say, so you have that scenario. The other scenario is where you have somebody who is saying, oh, it's just so sad that Billy just can't get over the situation, they need to move on and they need to do this, where they look like, oh, you're the mature one, the abusive person is the mature one, and basically showing that the other person is just still connected. You'll oftentimes see in a situation, you'll see the target of abuse being completely emotionally out of control or appearing that way, and then the actual abuser seeming calm. A good example of that, I guess, is the Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie situation where the Moab video, where he was completely calm and relaxed, and she's losing her mind, and a lot of people, hell, even I looked at it and I was looking at it like, well, maybe what's her role in this? And it's an easy trap to get into. All right, the next part of this about nobody really understands how much pain I'm in. If somebody hasn't been through this, they do not get it. They do not understand. They won't understand. Somebody who has to have gone through this and worked through the issues to get their lives back are the ones who will understand. Somebody who's been through this and is still triggered by everything and hasn't worked through it, they won't help you either, because they'll be like, well, you just need to get over it. Why are you still whining about it? The reality is this is really tough to heal from. Expect, and I know this sucks, but expect if you're going through this that it's going to take you some time. Some time is not days and weeks. Sometimes is many, many months, if not years. It took me a couple of years to get to the point where I got to the other side of this. And with that took therapy, reading books, hypnosis files. I mentioned that, all the stuff that I have listed in my resource on my website, which you can find at dadsurvivingdivorce.com/resources. It was not easy. It was really tough. And the other thing I want to say about this, about your recovery, you cannot be rushed. And what will happen is you're going to ruminate about this and you're going to spin out of control. Make sure you're working through all this stuff. Make sure you're building your support group if you can while you're going through this. But what's going to happen is one day you're going to just be so worn out and tired that you're going to literally wake up one day and say, okay, I've hit emotional rock bottom. I cannot do this anymore, and I'm done. Now, you can say that, but not really mean it, right? What I mean is you can say, God, I'm done with this. But if you're not really done, if you're not emotionally, spiritually, intelligently, therapeutically, however you want to say it, if you are not ready to really embrace that decision, it's not going to happen. If you're struggling with that and you feel like, oh my God, I can't get over this hump, you will, and it may not be today, may not be tomorrow, But one day you're going to finally hit to that point where you're going to say, you know what, I'm done. I'm tired of focusing all my attention on the other person. I'm going to pivot and start focusing on rebuilding my life. And I do not want this person to occupy any space in my mind, in my heart anymore. But until you get to that point, you can't do it. So if you're stuck, like this person is basically saying, you are in the process of working through it. So don't give up. So, and mentions that they felt like they were pathetic, and I agree. I felt the same way. I felt like my whole life was spiraling out of control. So you are not alone. And again, I mean, this is coming from a woman. Every one of us experience, I mean, when you're in these toxic relationships, yes, there are stereotypical traits that men have and stereotypical traits that women have, but the abusers typically follow the same patterns of behavior, and the people who are targets of that follow the same feelings or emotions, how they're dealing with it. And to go through, like, the laundry list of what this person just mentioned is incredibly common. So don't give up. You are not alone. It's going to take time. Make sure you're working through it. Make sure you're making, you're making the steps to go for to work through it. One of the couple of the big things for me that helped, if you go to my main site, my main YouTube channel, scroll down to the first playlist, Mindset for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery. The first 3 videos on there are critical. Hybrid no contact if you have kids. Absolute thinking to help you process what you're dealing with and to answer some of those questions of why you've experienced some of these things. And then black hole thinking to start purging your mind of constantly thinking about what's going on with the ex, to get your life back and start thinking about what you're doing. It takes time, guys. Do not beat yourself up on this. I know I can say that. I know you're going to do it. But what you're experiencing is incredibly common, and it's just part of this process. So take a deep breath. Realize, oh crap, I got signed up for the advanced course in this and I didn't want to deal with it. But know that it's not going to be your forever. On that, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell notification so you don't miss anything. If you like what's going on here and you want to support, become a member, hit the join button down below, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care. Bye.